You feel this nervousness on the phone there?
Sir, I've been trying to make an urgent phone call up there.
I don't think it's something I want to do on an overseas phone.
You gotta make some phone calls. Hang up the phone. Prank caller. Prank caller.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Packernet After Dark. This is the call-in show, the Packernet Podcast Network. If you'd like to call in, if you'd like to participate in the show, please feel free to do so. The phone number here is 608-501-0718. New callers go directly to the front of the line. And we do have a new caller today. So, new caller, what's going on?
Hey, Ryan, this is Max in Los Angeles. I'm just listening to the Gutekunst draft analysis. Love what you're doing, man. Nobody's doing work like you. Keep it up. I just think we're missing an opportunity to look at average value at a certain slot. So at the 80th pick, what's the average PPF grade for the career of that player? And I think we should be judging Brian in that context, because if his hit rate is 20th in the league, that's pretty good for somebody that's drafting in the last quarter of the draft every year. Let me know your thoughts, and thanks for everything, Ryan. Keep it up. Bye.
For sure, bro. Appreciate the call. And I think I kind of alluded to that. There's several things that, could be done to make it better. I kind of commented on a couple of them, that being one of them. And that's usually what I do. So I'm trying to think how I've done it what I had used in the past. I don't remember exactly what it is, but it is based on that curve of, the talent, what the expected value is at a specific pick, and then how good of a job you did plus or minus that. I am planning a part 2. So that was part 1. There will be a part 2 with tweaks, and we'll run through that again, because I think you're right. And like I said, there is no perfect way to do it, and no matter how many times you do it, there's always going to be but what about this, what about that? But at the very least, I want to make sure that we're doing that. So I'll have to sort of, again, kind of run back and have it calculate out the curve, the sort of PFF curve. And I've never used PFF before, so the curve on the PFF grades will be really interesting to see what that looks like. Because I've never downloaded their entire freaking database before. So I am excited to do that. Just have a lot of ground to cover. But we're getting caught up a little bit. We do need to get to free agency really quickly, because that's a major piece that we just have not touched. So the first piece of that is we're going to have to look at the salary cap stuff, and then the second piece will be looking at available pieces and whatnot. But that is on the docket, is part 2 of that analysis. So appreciate your call, brother, and hope to hear from you again soon. Let's get to Garrett, Southern Illinois.
Hey, Pack Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yo.
I wanted to just
never fails.
Follow up with what Arles had to say about Stenovich and Luke Butkus, because I could not agree more with what he said about that. I was just thinking about that very topic before I listened to the podcast where he called in about that, and it is kind of troubling to see that probably 2 people that we thought, hey, there's something that needs to change, and probably at least one needs to go, and that was Luke Butkus. Our offensive line has been abysmal, in my opinion, and you have to start with that. And if you are willing to allow, a low-level performance continue, I don't know what to say, because I feel like they have definitely grown stagnant, in my opinion, and their performance levels have just been so up and down. It's the inconsistency alone should be enough to say, hey, we've got to get somebody else in here with a different message for these guys. And then with Stenovich, again, we don't know what he does, but it just seems like if you go back and compare like his tenure versus Hackett's, I know we're comparing apples and oranges a little bit, but the red zone performance and success rate under Hackett versus Stenovich, there's just a lot of little things that seem to stick out that are just not clicking. And I think Love is good enough to overcome some of those things that maybe are not enhancing what this offense can do. The whole thing with the whole season with just Golden not getting the ball, we don't know what happened with that, but I'm sorry, but a coach has got to figure those things out. That's what they're getting paid to do, to figure out and problem solve how to get a player involved, to make them better, to get them involved. And when you have a first round pick that doesn't even catch a touchdown the whole season, I'm sorry, but it just kind of screams that somebody is lacking in their ability to problem solve and to adjust. So I'm still lobbying for both those guys to get toast. I'm out.
Yeah, and again, it's I don't know. There's so many freaking moving pieces. I mean, yeah, we can look back and we had the gold zone, and there were so many things we were good at, but then you look at the year after, and we sucked at it. With the same offensive coordinator, and sometimes we were good in the we were good in the first half and sucked in the second half, and then later we were bad in the first half, sucked in the second half, and I don't know. And, even with Golden, like, is it that they wanted to and couldn't, or is it that they didn't want to? I don't know that they were trying. I mean, I genuinely, again, I don't know, but I genuinely think that they were not trying because they were more focused on their primary receivers, which were not Golden. And you could say that in and of itself is a problem, but again, it's just pointing out the fact that we have no idea and we can't make assumptions about anything. We just have no clue. And so all we can really do is kind of big picture everything, just like with Stenovich or with Bisaccia or Matt LaFleur, where you just kind of go, yeah, but I don't like it. And it's your responsibility. I do think the offense worked well, especially considering we had no offensive line and no run game, which you could blame on Butkus for sure, or you could blame it on the players. That I don't really know. I was happy to hear, and we'll go over it tomorrow, but I was happy to hear that Brian Gutekunst did acknowledge that. He made some kind of excuses, but I think they were semi-legitimate excuses in terms of guys not being settled in any particular spot for a long time. But at the end of the day, he acknowledged it was a very serious problem, and you just can't compete, especially later in the season, without the ability to run the ball like that. So that's going to be a sink or swim situation for Brian Gutekunst. He sees the problem. It's just a question of how they, as a team, I guess, determine to go forward. Is it, well, we have our offensive line, we just need to hope for better health, and then I don't know, leave it at that? Or do we hammer it real hard? Do we go after it in free agency? I don't know. That's what we're going to have to wait and see. But as far as the rest of this coaching stuff, I mean, it's obviously, call and talk about whatever you want, but it's become clear to me that we are doing nothing to change anything. So it's kind of a waste of a time because we're not firing anybody. Bisaccia is not going anywhere. Stenovich isn't going anywhere. Butkus isn't going anywhere. And we'll see how it goes. I'm hopeful that things can turn around and everybody gets proved wrong about everything. And the offensive line is elite, and special teams is elite, and everything's just elite. We'll see how it goes, I guess.
Hey, Pack Daddy, it's Garrett from Southern Illinois.
Yo.
I just wanted to bring up a question regarding how and when the Packers will start addressing free agency. And I guess my biggest question is, who do you think would be their biggest targets and why? And I think obviously backup quarterback is going to be something that they're going to have to address. And I honestly don't think that they need to do it through the draft. They have attempted to do this in the past and just have not done very well.
Go get Justin
And
Fields.
I honestly think there's way too many more important needs for them to try to address through the draft and take all reasonable doubt out of the equation and get somebody who has played.
Yeah, but you're making the mistake of assuming that they're going to just draft all our biggest needs. That's number one. Number two, quarterback is always going to be something that they're going to want to draft. That's just the way it goes.
A lot of downs in the NFL and can be a reasonably competent backup. And they really hit the jackpot when they got Malik. But that's not realistic every time. And I guess what I'm getting around to saying is you have discussed this as an option, and I think it's a viable option if it's doable, and that is getting Justin Fields.
Hell yeah, bro.
He clearly is probably one of the more intriguing run-pass option type quarterbacks that they could implement behind Love. And he has proven that he can do some things. So maybe they can bring him along and reprogram him to be a really good backup. So that'd be my first free agent acquirement for the Packers to try to get. Second would probably be addressing the offensive line. I know you said that they've already cut Hobbs. Defensive back would be another one. So I guess my three biggest needs I see right now for them are defensive back, offensive line, and backup quarterback. Because all three of those, I would rather see them bring in a veteran than draft another rookie to come in. And they've got to start improving their veteran leadership. So maybe they can do that through free agency. I'm out.
Well, the question ultimately comes down to what do they think more so than what do I think, because it doesn't really matter what I think. I believe that they are much more confident in their corner group than we are, for sure. I know that they like Keyshawn. Valentine is deserving of that. He is a good corner. Packer fans think we have zero good corners because, Valentine and Nixon were bad for the last 5 weeks, like everybody was bad for the last 5 weeks. But the Packers are not going to judge the team based on what happened in the last 5 weeks, nor should they. Not that Keyshawn's ever been elite, but, that's just not how they're going to view things. I'm tempted to say defensive tackle is going to be the biggest one to attack. But again, I have to ask the question, do I think that they think that? And I would guess that they do. They know, first of all, I think the defensive coordinator, Gannon, is going to be asking for that. He's going to want a run defender, and we don't really have one. They know that Wyatt isn't a run defender. They also saw Wyatt go out, and that caused some problems. And I think, even Gutekunst would probably acknowledge that the depth at defensive tackle is just not good. And then I would guess interior offensive line. I don't know. I don't really know about that, but at the there's essentially three different. Gutekunst in his press conference kind of made excuses for Banks a little bit, or not so much excuses, but saying he was injured, and then we liked the way he started playing down the stretch, which I think is stupid. He's always been a bad football player. He was bad in San Francisco. We overpaid him. He came here. He got hurt. He came back. He played poorly forever. Then you have Anthony Belton. They're not going to replace Anthony Belton. That's not going to happen. And then you have a center, which, again, you could very easily look at it and say, well, we have Elton Jenkins, and then behind that we have Sean Ryan, and then behind that we have what's his name? And even if we don't keep Elton long term, we've got Sean Ryan, and we love Sean Ryan. Maybe that's the way they feel. My opinion is that Elton has had injury issues since day one. If he's even staying, it's short term, and Sean Ryan is terrible. I don't know exactly how they feel, but I have to assume at least somewhere along the line they feel that they have deficiencies. At least one of those three spots, they feel they need to bring somebody in to help. And then, again, add into that, why was this up my sleeve? It's like, what is itching me? Jeez. Stupid little outdoor little thing. I don't know what that is. That paired with knowing the pass blocking was not good enough and knowing the run blocking wasn't good enough. I mean, there's only so many freaking excuses you can make before you've got to do something. You can't assume that just everything's going to get better. So I, in my opinion, defensive line, offensive line are the biggest needs for the team. Backup quarterback isn't unimportant, but, in the grand scheme of things, a backup quarterback is going to be less important than pretty much any starting position that we have. So it's going to be down the line a little bit. I will say, though, it's a pretty good point about, it seems stupid to say just don't draft them anymore because, of course, they're going to continue drafting quarterbacks. They think it's incredibly important. The thing that I find intriguing about it or interesting, makes it an interesting question, is the fact that there are a good amount of backups. And you look at the success that they've been having. You look at, for example, Sam Darnold and what he's been able to do. You look at, who else was it that, Malik obviously would be one. Who was with Seattle before? That guy. I mean, not an elite career or anything, but certainly starting to see some success. It almost seems like there is a serious benefit in being able to develop some of these talented people. Some of these, especially early picks. Malik wasn't necessarily an early pick, but he was hyped as a first-round prospect. Darnold obviously was a first-round prospect. There's a lot of guys that I think could benefit, Justin Fields being another one, from being able to, get them off the field, do kind of the same thing that you did with, Jordan. You just sit, and we're going to work on all your footwork and all that stuff. We're going to get you in my system. You're going to learn the playbook. Even if it's a modified one, it's more of a Malik playbook or whatever, which is fine. You're going to learn this playbook, this system. You're going to learn the footwork and all that stuff. And as you learn it, we're going to just ease you into it, nice and easy. It's low pressure, bro. You're a backup now. Congratulations. Welcome. But if you commit to this, you have a real legitimate opportunity to get out there as a starting quarterback like what we're going to do with Malik here. And it'll be interesting to watch Malik to see exactly how that plays out. But anyways, that again, offensive line, defensive line would be my two biggest. There's really not very many that I wouldn't say is at least worth discussing. Cornerback obviously is one. Linebacker, you could say, is one. Running back potentially. Wide receiver potentially. Depending on how big of an investment, which I don't think we're making massive investments anywhere. So, number 2s and 3s and backups are all up for discussion. All right, let's take our first break. We'll be right back with Daniel from California.
Hey, Ryan, Daniel from California.
Yo.
I was kind of on board with, let's make a change with Bisaccia. And now that it seems like it's most likely not going to be a thing, I don't know. I just want to kind of just see what's the argument of, like, another year of subprime special teams play. And looking at this season in particular, you got two major failures. You got the kicking situation in the biggest game, and then you also have the coverage units underperforming. Daniel Whelan's a stud. I absolutely love Daniel Whelan. Don't ever put any negative words in my mouth about Daniel Whelan. But that's a product of Bisaccia, right? Bisaccia made that guy. McManus was, he was lights out last year, and he just had a bad year because he was battling through injury. Are we going to get upset?
He didn't even really have a bad year. He had he had a bad patch when he was hurt, and then he had a bad game in the Bears game. Now, even that is an overstatement.
Because this guy, had a rough year because of injury. For most of the performance throughout the year, no. The last game, definitely, even though it was rough conditions, but it's just he missed some chip shots, dude. Like, come on. Like, so that's the first thing. With the overall, because the main thing with our special teams units is they've had bad operation, and this past season, I want to cut him a little slack because first, this team, the first year they made a big spectacle about getting the guys you need to operate a special teams unit. So they got Nixon, they got that safety we had that started for a few years, and they rounded out that unit so we had guys that were special teams experts. And it was really like put an emphasis on the first year, and then, you know, immediately after it's just like, yeah, we're not doing that anymore. Let's just go back to our old ways. We haven't seen any special teams signings or anything. What happened this past year? The guys that were actually our special teams contributors, every one of them got hurt, all right? Who's our two best special teams players? Zane Anderson, Bo Melton, injured, right? Especially at the very end. Look at all of our tight ends. Every special teams unit is going to be made up of your tight end room, all injured, right? I remember the first few weeks, it's like Tucker Kraft went down and made a tackle. I was like, what is he doing out there? But that's what your special teams groups are made of. You know, this team is injured. Bo Melton gets so many tackles. It's just, I'm not gonna, since we're going forward, let's be optimistic. I don't like it, but.
Yeah, I mean, and this is the case for, I think, a lot of this stuff. The best you can do is make excuses for it. You can't really defend it. You can't really make a very strong argument for it. You can just kind of make excuses. It's kind of like Bears fans defending their quarterbacks. It's like, tell me why he's good. Well, the offensive line is bad, and no. I said, tell me why he's good. Well, it's not his fault that his receivers are dropping passes. I said, tell me why he's good. It's like it's the same thing with Bisaccia. The best you can do is say, well, everybody got hurt, and it's not his fault, and whatever. It's like, well, yeah, I guess. But has there ever been anything? I mean, I'm with you on like he's our guy now, and let's go for it, whatever. I've never heard a compelling case for Bisaccia in my life. Even the whole like, oh, he's great for morale. Really? Because that's like the thing that sucks about this team is they can't like get motivated and stuff. So that's weird. I have no idea what it is that he does so well. I get that people like him. That's cool. You know, again, you guys can get together and have freaking, cookouts or whatever, do whatever you want to do. I don't know. I really have no idea what the actual benefit is. Other than, again, like you said, we make the exact same excuses we make for everybody else of, well, there was a lot of injuries and it's not his fault and all that stuff. And, you know, I don't blame anybody for the Chicago game. That's not Bisaccia's fault that he missed a bunch of kicks. I don't even blame McManus for that. I mean, I can blame him for it, but it doesn't sway my opinion on him. It's one game. I mean, if the standard is we need to find a kicker that never has bad games, good luck. Good luck. He missed chip shots. Yep. Guess what? Everybody misses extra points. Those are all chip shots. I get that was a extremely egregious performance, but that doesn't change anything. So the kicking thing means nothing to me. I don't care about that. Again, for me, it's almost entirely down to the biggest thing is the penalties. Well, we don't have a returner. Most people don't have returners. I'd like to find one. It's something you got to keep working on. But there's almost no really good returners in the NFL. And we're one of the teams that doesn't have one, which is like every team in the NFL. We'll keep working on it and keep trying stuff and hopefully find somebody or whatever. I don't know. But that doesn't sway me all that much. I just care about basic stuff. You know, Gutekunst made the point about the coverage units. I think that's fair. I think the coverage has been better. We're not seeing a bunch of massive returns against us. We're not seeing the egregious, blocked kicks and everything as much as we did before, which is a frickin' low bar to set, but at least that's a reality. So okay. So all that's good. I can't get past the penalties. That is the most basic of the most basic. And there's nowhere else to look in my mind than the coach. Now, if we go back and look at the actual penalties and it turns up it's a bunch of the backups or whatever, and then you say, see, it's the injuries again, okay. But it's not. The most penalized guys are Bo Melton, Javon Bullard, Kingsley Enagbare, and Tyron Hopper. Kingsley, Bo Melton, and Javon, these are not backups. These are starters. These are your main guys. And they're the most penalized guys on the team, on special teams. And there were 15 different players that had penalties. So it's not like one guy that's getting a ton of penalties. It's not just like a bunch of backups getting penalties. It is starters, and it's a lot of people. 15 different players with penalties. Keyshawn, McManus, Wiley, Mosby, McDuffie, Brooks, Chris and Carl, Orzic, Van Ness, Haddon, Oladapo had 2, and then again, Enagbare, Melton, Hopper, and Bullard with 3. That's what annoys me. But you're right. It's he's the guy, and maybe none of it's his fault. It's everybody else's fault, and it's Gutekunst's fault. It's injury's fault. It's the universe's fault, and everything else. I don't know. I don't know. I give up, man. It's fine.
Hey, what's going on? It's Omar Firefighter. How y'all doing?
What up?
Quick thing. I meant to mention this last time and I forgot. Old QB coach Manning, got hired with the Eagles, but you didn't address, or maybe you didn't know, a lot of people turned that job down.
Oh, yeah.
Because the Philly fans were so crazy. Like the last offensive coordinator they got his house like egged up and stuff, which, it's childish, but at the same time, it's like, hey, they know where I live. They might do something to my family. You would think not, but again, they're crazy. So if you can just egg up my house with 1,000 eggs and all this other stuff, that's a little wild. Like, that's you crossing the line. It's a game, blase. Kind of like, I forgot the player. What's it? I don't know if it was Amari Rodgers or no. I know it was definitely the tight end with an onside kick or something, where they had did something to his lawn or something. It's just, I know it could just be one fan, but like nobody wanted that job. Like I remember hearing people didn't want to take it because the pressure, like because they are in like a win now, scenario, and it's toxic with the wide receiver and all this other stuff. So it's kind of like. It's not an easy job. So they went for the best person that wouldn't turn it down. And with Mannion being like almost brand new, like coaching 2-3 years, it's like, why would he turn that down? That's a lot of money. You know what I'm saying? Plus to follow his dream, if you do a good job, then he'd be a head coach and get like 10, 20, $1 million. So it's a lot of people, I think, are just forgetting about that. Add to the reason why he rose so quickly. So I hope, for his job, he do at least good enough where they don't destroy his property or nothing, He seemed like a nice guy. Would love to have kept him in Green Bay. But, it is what it is. I definitely agree with you and do want, it look like we're going to keep Rich Bisaccia, which is like, I can't believe it. Like, how is it can you not do your job and still keep it? It's kind of like, even if it's like, yeah, man, I know, but somebody got to take the fall. Like, you in charge of these people, they're not doing a good job, that's on you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They just keep giving them a pass and, like, I don't know, but I would love for us to put a boot to ass on somebody, you know what I'm saying, just to make sure that they tighten up. But anyway, go Pack, go. Hope y'all doing good.
Well, yeah, I have been talking about that a little bit. In fact, another one just popped up. Not so much the crazy Philly fans. I hadn't really thought about that angle. Just the fact that there's a ton of toxic drama going on between the coaches and the players and the players and the players and all kinds of nonsense. bunch of people have been turning that job down. And in fact, now, I had actually, when I just did the mock draft, was talking about, this legendary Philly offensive line coach that they have. And he decided he is going to leave the organization. Didn't decide he's going to retire. Just said he's decided to leave the organization. So I don't know what that means. And I don't know if there's any opportunity for us to go get him. I doubt we would, I mean, why would we want to go do something like that? That would be crazy. We'd have to fire a good man who is good to people and whatnot. I don't know. But yeah, I just saw that recently that legendary offensive line coach for the Eagles, Jeff Stoutland, announces he is leaving the organization. He posted, Philadelphia, I've decided my time coaching with the Eagles has come to an end. When I arrived here in 2013, I did not know what I was signing up for. I quickly learned that this is what the city demands, but more importantly, what it gives back. The past 13 years have been a great privilege in my coaching career. I didn't just work here, I became one of you. Stout out. So that is an interesting storyline going on over there. And again, another reason to be grateful for what we got, even when things aren't perfect. We do take a lot for granted because that's a very good football team that is just ruining itself. So we'll take a break. We'll be back with Chris from Alabama. Hello. Hello, Chris. Anyone there? No? Okay, let's try part 2.
Hey, what's going
There
on,
we go.
Ryan? Chris from Alabama again. My bad about the last call. I think I'm in a bad little spot, man. But I was listening to the podcast today. Today is the 4th of February. Actually listening to that, and I'm going to be very intrigued on the press conference that Goop's going to be giving around 12:30. I'm going to try to be in a situation where I can catch that live. But I stopped it when you were talking about the reports about releasing, the Packers might be releasing Nate Hobbs, which I am on record. I'm on record. I want Hobbs to go. I want Keyshawn Nixon to go. And in a perfect world, I wouldn't mind if Valentine would leave also. But being realistic and knowing the Packers, how they operate, would they really get rid of all 3 of those cornerbacks? Probably.
They're not getting rid of Keyshawn, and they're not getting rid of Valentine. I don't think there's any possible way. And I don't think they should, to be honest.
Not. So I kind of asked myself the question of, we'll take Valentine out of the equation.
Sure.
Between Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs, and I would like to know other people's thoughts, your thoughts and other people's thoughts as well on this. Who you really want to stay? Now, on face value, a lot of people might say Keyshawn Nixon, but let's take it to the fact. Let's just go back to the Essendon press conference. You got one guy that he showed a lot of humility and said, you didn't get the best version of me, wasn't up to par. I was hurt most of the year, and I promise that I'm gonna do everything I can to prove to the fan base and everybody that he can be the player that they thought him in to be. Then you got another guy that's just cool with what he done, and he felt like he hit all his personal goals this year, and everything is copacetic, everything is cool. And on the face, if you was to say, if I was a person to say you got 2 subpar corners, you got to keep one of those. You got one guy that's saying, man, I didn't play good this year. It was unfortunate, but I'm going to do every damn thing I can to get better. And you got another guy that's like, well, all right, cool. I hit all my personal goals. It's unfortunate we didn't get to where we were supposed to be. Hey, all the goals I set for myself, I hit all my goals, so I'm cool. Which one would you choose? I'm going to say, give me the guy at least acknowledges that he didn't play well and is going to acknowledge that he has to get better and going to do everything he can. This guy here that just feels like he did everything on the personal side and he got everything and that was good enough, you can get his ass up out of here.
We got parts 2 and 3 here, but I did forget about that actually. The contrast between those two, and I will say, all things being equal, it's not really close. I would agree with you. That being said, it's definitely not equal. Keyshawn Nixon, if we just look at again the PFF, 67 grade, which isn't great, but that is above average, with a nearly 70 coverage grade. He was our second highest cover DB behind only Xavier McKinney. Bullard was a 66. Diggs was a 65. Evan Williams was a 64. Carrington was a 62. Way down. A lot of guys that didn't play very much. Nate Hobbs was a 58. So we got, we're kind of comparing our worst to our best if we're just looking at corners. It's not two guys on equal footing. And I do think that's going to be a problem with the fan base, is the belief that and that's been since day one. We have the worst corners in football, all this stuff. It's not really the case. Now, that might be kind of a fluke with Keyshawn. He's never really played this well before as a cover guy. And nobody's going to say, well, he didn't play well. You're really just basing that off of the last several weeks of the season. Again, everybody's perception of what happened this past year is really based on the last 5 weeks of the season. 4 of the 7 touchdowns he gave up came in a 3-week span toward the end of the year. Although he didn't give up a single touchdown in the final 3 games, Baltimore, Minnesota, and Chicago. He had 13 pass breakups on the season. It really wasn't terrible. Listen, what I would say is I don't really feel great about any of our corners. But the perception that we have terrible corners is false. We have mediocre corners. I'd like to bring in guys to compete to see if we can raise the level. But it's just really not the case that everybody's awful. And the same with Valentine. Valentine had a pretty good year, but at the end it went real bad. I think his 3 worst games of the year were the 3 final games of the year. With, there's a couple exceptions in there. Weeks 4 and week 13 were really bad. But it was 40, 50, 40 for his coverage grades the last 3 weeks of the season. He gave up 6 touchdowns, 2 in the last 2 weeks against Baltimore and Chicago. Otherwise, it was 1 every 3 or 4 games. It's the same with McManus, right? He's terrible because of what happened in that last game. Rashawn is terrible because of how he ended the season. We ignore how he started the season. You know what I mean? We just have I think the team and Gutekunst can skew too much to oh no, they're actually really good. But the fan base is way too harsh on people, especially guys that ended the season poorly. Out of 36 defensive players, Keyshawn was our 9th highest graded player. Rashawn, by the way, was our 6th highest graded player. Nobody wants to admit that or accept that. We all have our favorites of who we like and who we don't like. Devontae Wyatt was 24th. Baron Sorrell was 20th. Everybody loves that guy. Kingsley was 16th. Bullard was 12th. I just don't know that perception is a great reflection of reality on a lot of this stuff. So, yes, all things being equal, I'd probably take Hobbs, but they're not equal at all. Hobbs was terrible. Keyshawn was above average.
If I had to choose, and I know I'm probably in the minority with this, and I just had to go back and think. To be clear, if you want to get rid of both of them, I'm not gonna be upset. But I'm just trying to think in the mind of how the Packers may be thinking, because Keyshawn Nixon, the resume is gonna look a little bit more better because of this quote unquote Pro Bowl appearance that he had, and I know he was top 2, if not top in the league in pass breakups. He had majority of them in 1 game, but that's neither here nor there. I would rather have a guy that says, I'm going to do whatever I can, work hard, grind hard, even if it don't come to tuition, even if it don't come true. Even if it don't come true, at least he's saying, hey, man, I was bad. I was terrible. This is not what it is, bro. I promise you, I'm about to do everything under my power to get better. Versus a guy that says, well, you know, it's unfortunate, but hey, all the goals I met, hey, I'm cool. I met all my goals. I got all my goals. I mean, which one sounds like a team player to you? Ours was bad. Keyshawn was a little bit better than Hobbs. Keyshawn had a terrible second half of the season. All his stats came in the first half of the season. That back half of the season, he was bad. He had a couple moments, you know, the peak, to see in the game, all that good stuff. Yeah, you know, a clock is right twice a day. But I would rather have a man that's going to work hard, grind hard. It seemed to me that Hobbs he's a better team player. Like Keyshawn, this ain't no team play. It's all about personal goals. You can tell. It's just like, okay, beginning of the year, I'm not returning no kicks. I'm not trying to return no kicks.
I was just thinking that.
I'm not doing kicks. I'm not doing special teams. I'm CB1. It's CB1. I'm trying to be CB1. Dude, do you forget why you even here, bro? Let's be honest. Like, do you really understand why you are on this team right now in a position to even be CB1? Number one, because I just fell off the cliff. That's number one, first and foremost. But more importantly, special teams what got you a contract, dude. So now you want to thumb your nose up at being a kick returner when that what got you a contract? Because if it wouldn't have been for that, you wouldn't even been on the team 2 years ago, bro. That what got you a contract. Like, that shit blows my mind. And I don't understand it. But he's probably going to be on the team. And I'm probably going to be upset. And I'm probably going to call back in a couple of weeks with another rant about why this clown is still on the team.
Well, the bigger issue, too, because I don't want to sit here and just defend Keyshawn, because I'm not a huge Keyshawn fan. And you're right about the attitude. That is a problem. I'm not a big fan of that. But let me just say this. The other thing I think a lot of fans do a lot of the time is everybody that's not good has got to go. The problem is somebody's got to play. Keyshawn isn't ideal, but he's better than whoever we would have if we just got rid of everybody. Like, who if we just get rid of him, and you can say, well, draft somebody. Yeah, but he's probably going to suck. And that's not because Gutekunst is bad at his job. It's just the draft. You know what I mean? The odds that he's going to come in and be better than Keyshawn, 65 PFF grade with 13 pass breakups. Honestly, what are the odds? Let's just look at the corners and who was better than Keyshawn among the rookies this past year. Like, what percentage? So of all the guys that got drafted, what was Keyshawn's specific? Because there's one that's close here. Of all the guys, I don't know how many corners got drafted, but 17 of them played. You know what? I think there should be a higher qualification to of how many games you played, because you want a full-time starter, right? So there were 3. That can't be right, can it? Hold on. There were 3 that played 17 or more games. There were 5 that played 15 or more games, and that's it. 5 that played 15 games. To be clear, Keyshawn played 18. He was the only one, by the way, on our entire team that played 18. Carrington played 17. Nate played 11. Well, what about... They keep putting frickin' Bullard as a safety. Doesn't matter. So, I mean, if we're being honest, there's 15 guys... there are 5 guys that played at least 15 games. How many of them had higher than a 66.7 grade? 1. Jacob Parrish. And Parrish had a 65.7 coverage grade, which is below Keyshawn. Of everybody that played, only 1 corner had a higher coverage grade. Only 1 rookie in the entire class had a higher coverage grade. He played 14 games for the Kansas City Chiefs. So if you can even call that better, and it was Noel Williams. And to be clear, Noel Williams started the season with a 92, 91, and 91 coverage grades to start the season, the first 3 weeks that he played. That should give you an idea of how bad he was for a lot of the year. You get what I'm saying? So, like, you know, this idea that, like, we'll just go get somebody else, go draft somebody else, and even free agents. Which free agents were out there just killing it more so than Keyshawn was? If we include, you know, again, some filters here, let's say they got to play at least what? No, I want to filter this even more now. You got to play more weeks than that. So, I mean, there's some guys that aren't even going to be included here, but Keyshawn was 22nd. And let's see, we would have to remove Razul played 15 games. Monteric Brown played 15 games. McDuffie played 13. Jamel Dean played 14. Joey Porter played 15. And Devon Witherspoon played 14. I would potentially remove those. But even if you don't, of the 21 that played better than him, were any of these guys free agents? Hilariously, Stokes was. Stokes played better than he did. It's tough to say, you know, he wasn't really a free agent for us. We would have had to re-sign him, and there wasn't a single person that wanted to do that, even though Stokes did play better in 2024, and I said so, and it wasn't even as good as Keyshawn. But we decided enough is enough, and he has to go. Razul, who I know a lot of people wanted him back, despite the fact that in Buffalo he was dog crap. He was very volatile also, really good games and then really bad games. He ended the season on a really bad note. Marcus Jones, no. Let's see. Mike, no, he was a free agent 2 years ago. So, outside of bringing Razul back, there weren't any free agents either. And we're talking about possibly getting rid of 2 or 3 corners. How in the hell are we going to replace 2 or 3 corners? When in the draft, there's maybe going to be 1 corner that's better than what we had in Keyshawn, and maybe 1 or 2 free agents. With 32 teams, you know, understand the odds of us getting that guy? Getting any of those guys, you know how low that is? I mean, even if there's 3, let's say there's 3 corners that are rookies that come in that are not first-round picks. That we're talking back of the second round or later. Let's get real greedy and say there's 3. There's a 9% chance we're going to get that guy. I'm not getting rid of corners based on a 9% chance we can replace them. That's part of the issue. Even if they're bad, you can't get rid of them. Getting rid of them doesn't fix the bad. It just takes bad and makes it a lot worse. You know, the only thing that fixes bad is bringing in better, which is also why you don't have to get rid of them. Just bring in better. And if they beat them out, then they beat them out. But I'm more focused on, can we try to find talent to bring in more so than that guy sucks and he pisses me off and I want him off my team.
All right, this is the last one. I think I'm going to get in. But like I said, he's probably going to still be on the team because they're going to look at it like, well, okay, you had that above average PFL grade that you pointed out, where it was 6'3", 6'4", whatever it was. You know, yeah, he had some penalties, this, that, and the third, but, you know, he's been here. He knows the defense, he knows the guys in the locker room, all this good stuff. They're probably going to keep him. If they release Nate Hobbs, they're probably going to keep him. And to be honest, I done seen enough. We know what Keyshawn Nixon is, and you basically are a selfish player in my eyes because you really just worried about your little goals or whatever. Like, they don't, okay, you hit your personal goals. So I guess winning the Super Bowl is not a personal goal. That should be a personal goal to all 53 players and all coaches and all front office. That should be the goal for everyone, personal and team. So that must not have been one of your goals, because you said you got all the goals, but we didn't win the Super Bowl, so that must not have been on your bucket list, player. I'm just saying, bro. I would rather have a bad Nate Hobbs with a motivation to get better than a slightly above average Keyshawn Nixon that seems like he just all about himself and trying to meet whatever little criteria he's trying to meet. But y'all let me know what y'all think. Salute to everybody out there. Oh, and I will be tapping in on the other phone number for the draft room, talking about quarterback. So I actually about to get ready to make that phone call here in just a second and talk about a particular cornerback from around my area that everybody kind of moving up the draft board, and they might need to come to break. But that's over there. So go over there and check that out. Everybody go check that out, because I'll be calling in about that. But go back, go. I'll talk to y'all later. And y'all let me know what y'all think about number 25. Because if he stay on the team, he will not be Keyshawn Nixon to me. He will be number 25. Go back, go. I'll talk to you later.
Well, hopefully everybody listening to this already went and listened to that draft episode where I did take a phone call from Chris. Chris, I appreciate you. I do agree with the attitude thing. It is real bad. I think there's a lot of guys on this team that I would love to replace and that we need to work toward trying to replace. Keyshawn's one of those guys. I don't know that it's like my biggest priority, but it's certainly on the list of, okay, we need to find something better than Keyshawn. And it's always been that way. I mean, Keyshawn's never been that dude, you know? I don't know how much faith we've ever had that he was going to become that guy, but I think whatever faith there was, that hopefully has passed. And you're right. I mean, I'm hoping that the rest of the players kind of feel that way. I mean, you could say I hope they don't feel that way, but I hope that they do, because you want your other players to have a different kind of mentality. And, it's just you hope that they kind of look at it and go, that's fine. That's Keyshawn, whatever. But that's not really how we do things here. And that's not how we run our locker room, and that's not what we want from our guys. I mean, we're obviously, we can't kick them out of the locker room or anything, but, we just do things a little bit differently. I don't know. I think, and they do talk a lot about the cohesion of the locker room and wanting certain guys with certain attitudes and all that kind of stuff. There is an element, to your point, of sort of a money where your mouth is, You really care about this locker room and leadership and all that kind of stuff. Okay, well, I have a suggestion. You've got a bit of a toxic person, and I think this is a lot of, I don't know, but I have a feeling this played into the Rasul Douglas decision, because I think Rasul was kind of the same way. I think it played into the potentially the Jair thing. I think there were a lot of DBs that had some serious diva stuff going on, and I think it became a problem, and I think Keyshawn is a part of that. And, I understand DBs can be that way, just like wide receivers can be that way. But I think there needs to be sort of a zero tolerance. Maybe that's too harsh, but it's just we just don't do that here. I get that you think that you're cool, and I get all that, and that's great, and we got your back and all that stuff. But it's not about you. And it's, I'm not doing like you said, I'm not doing kickoff because, I want to be CB1. Cool, bro. And I'm sure, Dobbs and Reed and Watson all want to be wide receiver 1 too. But I can't imagine them throwing a hissy fit and demanding that I get that job instead of them. You know what I mean? That's stupid. So I don't know. Again, we can't get rid of everybody. Maybe we get rid of somebody. But my guess is Valentine and Keyshawn are going to stick around, if for no other reason than we need the bodies. Got to have enough people to field a football team. And I think beyond that, they need to try to work on bringing in some other people. But again, there's only so much you can do. I mean, we can talk about it. It's like, well, it's desperate. Like it's no excuse. You have to do it. Okay. Well, do you have to get defensive tackle help too? Do you have to get offensive line help too? I think you do, right? I mean, there's only so much you can do in the draft. There's only so many picks, and there's only so many opportunities to it. We hear this every year when they talk about like, oh, we were really looking at this position. It just didn't fall that way. They're not going to reach. They're not going to say, oh, well, corner is our biggest need, so we're reaching. They will not do it. They got some guys that they want, and then if they go off the board, then I guess we're going a different position. That's just the way it goes. There's no changing that, and I don't think they should. But even if you think that they should, it's not worth debating because they will not. So, there's a million different needs on this team. Running back, wide receiver, offensive line, guard, tackle, center, whether we're talking depth or something more serious, they're all still needs. And again, you can only freaking do so much. So we'll see. But that's the other thing too, is they're not going to want to put themselves in a situation where they need to do something. They're not going to put themselves in a situation where we have to draft 3 corners and all those corners have to start or we can't field a football team. They're not going to do that. So, all the more reason why they're going to go in with the team that they have, and then we'll see what we can build. And honestly, that is, I think we focus too much on building. When I guess our version of building through the draft is we need to go find guys that are going to help us play this year. No, we're going to run essentially back the same team we had, with the exception of cutting some guys and bringing some guys in free agency. The draft and all that is just we're going out and finding good players that we're going to develop. And if they happen to be ready to start this year, and if they happen to beat out whoever's playing, fine. But the draft is just a thing where we go out and grab the best, a pile of good players and see what happens. And I know that sounds self-explanatory, but again, I think when we do our mock drafts and when we think about things, we think about building the team, as in building the 2026 team. And that's not what they're doing. So they're going to go into the draft with already having a fully ready-to-go football team. We have all the pieces we need. If we happen to get better, great. But, we're not going to strip this thing down to bare bones and say, hopefully these 7-8 picks can build us a team. So I guess what I'm saying is get comfortable with some guys that you don't like, because Banks, Keyshawn, Valentine, Sean Ryan, whatever guys it is that tick you off, they're probably not getting cut. And what I don't want to hear is a whole bunch of, Gutekunst has failed and how could you let him stay on this team and everything? Because you have to field a football team. That's why. So anyways, I'm going to get out of here. Holy crap, it's 10:30. All right, I got to get this posted. My brain is mush, man. This is my 3rd podcast of the day. 2 days in a row. We're keeping her going, but my brain is just liquefied at this point. All right, I'll talk to you later. Have a good one. Bye-bye.